The scar across her abdomen told a story no boardroom ever would, of pain survived, fear endured. As Vanessa lowered her shirt, tears falling, Lucas didn't look away. His voice was steady, unshaking. "I'm not leaving you," he said. "Not now. Not ever." Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Let's begin. The morning rain pressed against Manhattan like an accusation. It slicked the sidewalks, blurred the glass towers, and turned every reflection into something uncertain, fitting, Lucas Reed thought, for a day balanced on the edge of failure. He stood beneath the steel-and-glass canopy of Brooks International, clutching a worn leather portfolio to his chest. Inside were photographs, weddings, street portraits, fleeting moments of joy he had once known how to capture. Outside were overdue bills, a landlord's final notice, and the quiet weight of being a widower raising a 6-year-old alone. Ruby had waved at him from the school steps that morning, her red scarf crooked, her smile brave. "You'll be okay, Daddy," she'd said, like a promise she expected him to keep. Lucas checked his watch. 8:11 a.m. Interview at 8:30. This job, corporate media archivist, wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. Health insurance. Rent paid on time. A future that didn't feel like it might collapse overnight. The revolving doors spun. Vanessa Brooks stepped out. Lucas recognized her instantly from business magazines and muted news screens in subway stations. The youngest CEO in the company's history. Ruthless, brilliant, untouchable, or so people said. In person, she looked smaller somehow, but sharper, like every movement was measured to conserve energy. She walked fast, head down, her assistant half-running beside her with a cardboard tray of coffee cups and a phone pressed to her ear. Lucas tried to move aside. He didn't make it in time. The collision was small, almost harmless, but the coffee wasn't. It spilled across his chest in a burning wave, soaking his shirt, his tie, his last shred of confidence. "I'm so sorry," the assistant cried, scrambling for napkins. "Sir, It's fine," Lucas said quickly, though his heart was already racing. He looked down at the spreading stain, then toward the lobby doors. Panic tightened his throat. He couldn't walk into an interview like this. He couldn't go home either. Vanessa turned. Her eyes moved from the ruined shirt to Lucas's face, and something unexpected passed between them, not irritation, not dismissal, but understanding. The kind that came from knowing what it was like to lose control in public. "You're here for an interview," she said calmly. "Yes," Lucas answered. "Today." She glanced at the clock behind him. "You have time. Come with me." Ma'am, I really can't." "You can," she said, already turning. It wasn't arrogance. It was certainty. She led him through the lobby without explanation. Security waved them through. An executive elevator carried them upward in silence. Inside a private office restroom, Vanessa opened a closet and pulled out a neatly pressed white shirt. "Change," she said. "It's clean." Lucas stared. "I can't take this." "You're not taking it," she replied. "You're borrowing dignity. Everyone needs it before an interview." As Lucas changed, he caught sight of her reflection. She stood at the sink, fingers gripping the marble edge too tightly. When she reached for a towel, her sleeve slipped. A scar, not small, not accidental, peeked from beneath the cuff. Surgical. Deliberate. Lucas looked away immediately. Grief had taught him that some pain asked for silence, not curiosity. "Thank you," he said softly when he emerged. Vanessa nodded, but her attention had shifted to her phone. Whatever she read drained the color from her face. She looked up, suddenly vulnerable. "Listen to me," she said quietly. "In that interview, don't mention meeting me. Not outside. Not here. Lucas frowned. Why? Her eyes flicked to the office door, then back to him. Because, she whispered, someone here wants me removed. And they're already watching who I help. The door handle turned. And just like that, Lucas Reed realized the coffee stain was the smallest problem he'd walked into that morning. The interview room was colder than Lucas expected. Not physically, though the air conditioning hummed like it had something to prove, but emotionally. Glass walls, minimalist table, 3 chairs arranged with surgical precision. It reminded Lucas of hospitals. Of waiting rooms where news was delivered gently and lives still fell apart anyway. He sat alone for 2 minutes that felt like 10. Vanessa Brooks had vanished the moment the door handle turned. 1 second she was there, human, tense, protective, and the next she was gone, absorbed back into the machinery of the building. Lucas straightened the borrowed white shirt, trying not to think about how easily his life had just brushed against hers, or how quickly it could be crushed. The door opened. 2 HR managers entered, followed by a man Lucas recognized instantly. Ethan Caldwell. Senior Operations Director. Vanessa's right hand. And, if rumors were true, the man quietly positioning himself to replace her. Caldwell smiled too easily. His eyes flicked to Lucas's shirt. Rough morning? He asked. Lucas swallowed. You could say that. The interview began predictably, questions about experience, deadlines, flexibility. Lucas answered calmly, the way he had learned to after Claire's illness, one thing at a time, don't rush the truth, don't oversell hope. Then Caldwell leaned back. Your resume mentions freelance photography, he said. Why leave creative work for a corporate desk? Lucas thought of Ruby's school lunches. The electric bill. The way grief didn't pay rent. Because art doesn't always keep the lights on, he replied. But responsibility doesn't stop just because life changes. Caldwell watched him closely. Responsibility, he repeated. To whom? My daughter, Lucas said without hesitation. And to people who trust me to show up. Something shifted. The HR managers exchanged a glance. Caldwell's smile thinned, not gone, but sharpened. After the interview, Lucas was escorted out with polite nods and no promises. The usual. He stepped into the elevator feeling strangely hollow. Not hopeless, just exposed. On the ride down, the doors opened at the executive floor. Vanessa stepped in. Not the composed CEO from the magazines, but the woman from the restroom. Pale. Quiet. Carrying something heavy behind her eyes. The doors closed. Silence wrapped around them. I shouldn't be seen with you, she said first, staring straight ahead. Lucas nodded. Then I won't say anything. That earned him a glance. Curious. Guarded. You did well, she added. Caldwell doesn't scare easily. He didn't seem to like me much. He doesn't like people who can't be controlled, Vanessa said softly. Then, after a pause, that's usually a good sign. The elevator chimed. Before Lucas could step out, Vanessa spoke again, lower this time. Someone once did for me what I did for you this morning, she said. Drove me home when I shouldn't have been alone. Didn't ask questions. Didn't take advantage. Just made sure I was safe. Lucas met her eyes. Sometimes that's all people need. The doors opened. Vanessa straightened, the armor sliding back into place. If you get the job, she said, keep your head down. And if you don't? She stopped herself. No, she corrected. Either way, thank you for not asking about the scar. Lucas watched her walk away, heels echoing, power restored. And for the first time since Claire died, he felt something unfamiliar stir in his chest. Not hope. Purpose. Because somehow, in a building full of ambition and quiet cruelty, two broken people had recognized each other. And that recognition was already dangerous. Lucas didn't expect the call to come so soon. It arrived 2 days later, just as he was kneeling on the kitchen floor in their cramped Queens apartment, helping Ruby finish a poster for school. Construction paper, glitter, crooked letters spelling "My hero." She meant firefighters, but Lucas felt the word land somewhere deeper. "Mr. Reed," the voice on the phone said. "This is Brooks International. We'd like to offer you the position." Lucas closed his eyes. "Yes," he said, breathless. "Yes, of course." He hung up, hugged Ruby too tightly, and for the first time in months allowed himself to believe he hadn't failed her. The job was quieter than Lucas expected. He worked in a media and archives department tucked away from the main floors, digitizing old campaigns, cataloging internal footage, restoring damaged photographs. It was work he understood. Images told the truth when words learned how to lie. Vanessa kept her distance. They passed each other in hallways sometimes, exchanged nods in meetings, but nothing more. Whatever connection they'd formed that morning had been carefully buried beneath professionalism. Except for the silences. Lucas noticed them during long meetings when Vanessa's hand would pause over her notes. Or when the lights dimmed slightly and she inhaled too fast. He noticed how she avoided elevators when they stalled, how she never drank coffee anymore. He didn't ask. One afternoon, the building's fire alarm shrieked without warning. Employees poured into stairwells, confusion rising like smoke. On the 22nd floor, Vanessa froze. Not visibly, but Lucas saw it. The way her shoulders locked. The way her breath vanished. The stairwell was packed. People pushed. Someone cursed. Vanessa swayed. Lucas reached her without thinking. "Vanessa," he said quietly, positioning himself between her and the crowd. "Look at me. Breathe with me." Her eyes found his, wide and distant. "I can't," she whispered. "I can't, I was here when it happened." "When what happened?" But the answer came without words. Her hand pressed against her abdomen as pain, and memory, collided. "It was 2 years ago," she said, voice trembling as the alarm echoed. "They took everything out. I woke up alone. The lights, God, the lights." Lucas guided her down the stairs slowly, shielding her from the rush. "You're not there now," he said steadily. "You're here. You're safe. I've got you." By the time they reached the lobby, the alarm had stopped. The threat had passed. Vanessa hadn't. She sank onto a bench, tears slipping free without permission. "I had stage 3 ovarian cancer," she said, the words falling like broken glass. "I survived. Barely. And now every time my body aches, I think it's back. I think I'm already gone." Lucas sat beside her, careful, present. "They took my ability to have children," she continued. "They took my future. And I let them, because survival felt like the only thing that mattered." Lucas thought of Claire in a hospital bed. Of the sound machines made when hope was thinning. "Survival is brave," he said. "But it's not the end of the story." Vanessa laughed bitterly. "You don't even know what I look like now." She hesitated, then lifted the edge of her blouse just enough for him to see. The scar was long. Real. Unapologetic. Lucas didn't flinch. "That scar," he said softly, "means you're still here." Her voice broke. "I don't feel lovable." Lucas looked at her, really looked. "I lost my wife," he said. "I thought that meant love had an expiration date. But I was wrong." Vanessa's breath hitched. "I'm falling in love with you," Lucas admitted. "Not despite what you've survived. Because of it." The building hummed around them, unaware, indifferent. But something fragile and fierce had just been spoken into existence. And neither of them could pretend it hadn't. After that day, nothing was the same, and yet everything pretended to be. Lucas returned to his desk, to folders and scanned negatives, to coffee breaks measured by the clock. Vanessa returned to boardrooms and earnings calls, to a role that demanded certainty even when her hands trembled beneath the table. They didn't touch. They didn't meet alone. But something invisible threaded between them now. Glances held a second too long, conversations paused just before something honest could slip out. The building noticed. Or rather, someone did. Ethan Caldwell began appearing everywhere. He stopped by Lucas's department under the pretense of process checks. He asked about files Lucas had access to. About meetings he might have overheard. His smile never reached his eyes. "You've adjusted quickly," Caldwell said one afternoon, leaning against Lucas's desk. "Ms. Brooks has a habit of accelerating people she takes interest in." Lucas kept his voice neutral. "I just do my job." Caldwell nodded slowly. "For your sake, I hope that's all you do." The warning lingered long after he walked away. 2 weeks later, Vanessa didn't show up for a board meeting. Emails went unanswered. Calls went straight to voicemail. Lucas knew something was wrong before anyone said it out loud. He found her in the executive medical suite, curtains half drawn, fluorescent lights buzzing softly. She sat on the exam table, arms wrapped around herself like armor had finally failed. "They found something," she said when she saw him. No greeting. No pretense. A shadow on the scan. Lucas's chest tightened. "They don't know what it is yet," she continued quickly, like if she spoke fast enough it wouldn't become real. "But they scheduled more tests. Biopsies." He moved closer. "When?" "Tomorrow morning." The silence that followed was heavier than fear. It carried memory. Anticipation. Loss rehearsed too many times. "I didn't tell anyone else," Vanessa admitted. "Not the board. Not my assistant. If Caldwell finds out, he'll use it. He's been waiting for proof I'm unstable." Lucas understood then, this wasn't just about illness. It was about survival in a world that punished weakness. "Come home with me," he said. Vanessa looked up sharply. "Lucas." "Not to stay," he added gently. "Just dinner. Ruby's making spaghetti. She's terrible at it. It helps." Something in Vanessa's face cracked, not fear this time, but longing. That evening, she sat at a small kitchen table covered in crayons and glue marks, listening to Ruby explain the rules of a game she made up on the spot. For 2 hours, Vanessa Brooks wasn't a CEO or a survivor or a liability. She was just there. When Ruby went to bed, Vanessa stood by the window, city lights blinking like uncertain stars. "If it's back," she said quietly, "I won't fight the way I did before. I don't know if I have that strength again." Lucas stepped beside her. "You won't fight alone." She turned to him, eyes shining. "Promise me something. Anything. If tomorrow goes wrong," she said, voice barely steady, "don't let my life become a cautionary tale. Let it be real." Lucas took her hands. "It already is." The test results came back 48 hours later. False alarm. Scar tissue. Benign. Vanessa sank into a chair, laughing and crying at the same time, breath finally returning to her lungs. The world hadn't ended after all. Lucas didn't wait. He dropped to one knee right there in her living room, heart pounding harder than any interview ever had. "Marry me," he said. "Not because we're afraid. But because we're still here." Vanessa covered her mouth, tears spilling freely now. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes. Outside, the city rushed on, unaware that two wounded lives had just chosen each other. And somewhere in the building they'd left behind, Ethan Caldwell read an email that told him he was running out of time. They didn't announce the engagement. Not at first. Life moved carefully after that, like glass newly mended. Vanessa underwent follow-up tests in quiet intervals between meetings. Lucas learned how to navigate the corporate world without losing the softness that made him human. And Ruby, sweet, watchful Ruby, understood far more than either adult realized. One night, as Lucas tucked her in, she asked, "Is Vanessa staying?" Lucas smiled. "If you'll have her." Ruby nodded solemnly. "Okay. But she has to like spaghetti." Vanessa did. Burnt edges and all. Ethan Caldwell made his move 3 weeks later. An anonymous report reached the board accusing Vanessa of concealing medical instability that compromised executive judgment. Documents were attached, old medical records, selectively edited emails, surveillance footage from the fire alarm evacuation. Someone had been watching. Collecting. Waiting. The board convened an emergency session. Vanessa stood before them alone, until the doors opened. Lucas stepped in, folder in hand. "I'm not on the agenda," he said calmly, "but I'm part of the truth." He presented restored footage from archived security drives, files Caldwell had assumed were inaccessible. Footage showing Caldwell instructing staff to delay maintenance checks. Emails proving he'd leaked Vanessa's private records through shell accounts. Vanessa watched, stunned, not at the betrayal, but at the quiet man beside her, standing unafraid. The vote was swift. Caldwell was removed. Referred for investigation. Vanessa remained. The wedding took place in early spring. No press. No investors. Just close friends, soft light, and a garden behind a small historic chapel. Ruby wore a white dress and scattered petals with serious concentration. When Vanessa walked down the aisle, Lucas didn't see a CEO. He saw a woman who had survived, and chosen to live. They adopted Owen a year later. A quiet baby with wide eyes and a habit of falling asleep to the sound of Lucas's camera shutter. Parenthood didn't erase Vanessa's scars, but it reframed them. Proof of endurance. Not loss. Together, they launched the Reed and Brooks Foundation, supporting cancer survivors rebuilding careers and families after treatment. Not charity. Partnership. 5 years later, Vanessa stood on a stage accepting a humanitarian award. The lights were bright, but they no longer frightened her. In the front row, Lucas sat with Ruby, now taller, confident, and Owen on his lap. Vanessa met Lucas's gaze and smiled. She remembered the rain. The coffee. The borrowed shirt. And the words that carried her through fear, illness, and doubt. Lucas lifted his hand slightly, just enough for her to see. "I'm not leaving you." The applause rose. But the quiet promise mattered more. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe for more stories that stay with you.